Well, it looks like Canelo Alvarez may face Callum Smith next, or at least that's what Access Tickets website said. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Now sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. It does help when you guys use that link in the description box of all of my videos. So you can also get ESPN Plus, and you can combine it with Hulu and Disney Plus. All three apps, one price of $12.99. And again, this helps the channel. Now we got to talk about it. People are wondering what the next fight is for Canelo Alvarez. You know, Billy Joe Saunders, he posted a video. A lot of people thought Billy Joe Saunders might get it. And he posted a video and he says, any dance partners, I need one ASAP. So a lot of people speculate that he's fell out of the, talks to fight Canelo, and it's going to instead be Callum Smith. Now, beyond, what Billy Joe Saunders posted, Access showed Canelo versus Smith, and I don't know two other Smith, Will Smith, Granny Smith. I don't know any other Smiths that Canelo would be fighting, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But it just said Canelo and Smith tickets May 2nd. And you will see the screen caps that I've captured. They have since taken this down. And, it looks like they accidentally leaked it, spilled the beans and leaked it. I guess we'll have to find out if it's true, So right now it's in the Ego rumor mill stage. But it looks like Canelo could fight Callum Smith. Again, you look at the screen caps. It has the date, tells you when the tickets are going on sale. And, it wouldn't be a surprise because he's one of the people who was long mentioned in negotiations. They said they looked at Ryota Murata. That fell apart. That's something they're going to revisit later, similar to when the negotiations for Kovalev fell apart. So it wouldn't surprise me. And to me, I could understand if it was Callum Smith. I have a good idea on why it would be Callum Smith. For one, Callum Smith is really big. And Canelo seems to, I feel like his team sometimes picks taller guys just because automatically it gives certain people the impression, since Canelo's really not tall for 68 and definitely 75. He's not even the tallest guy at 160. So I think it's for shock value because he has more of a squatty frame, and he's fought a fair amount of taller guys recently. Liam Smith. He fought Danny Jacobs, who was taller, Julio Cesar Chavez, Triple G 2 times, Rocky Fielding, and his last fight with Kovalev. All these guys were way taller. But the difference is boxing is not purely about height. It's not about weight. Sometimes these things can influence a fight. Like I think Tyson Fury being a little bit taller, having the frame he had and his weight, I think that was part of his strategy against Deontay Wilder. But with Canelo, he's a purebred fighter. He's a skilled guy, and so far everybody's taller than him. So typically for shorter guys, they get used to punching up, and they don't worry about it so much. And if you're used to fighting taller guys, see, like fighting Tyson Fury, most guys aren't used to fighting guys that move like him. His skill set and his ring IQ and his experience, that's also that big, But when you're a shorter person, like let's say Ruslan Provodnikov, Donaire was, well, actually he wasn't. He was shorter in a couple fights, like Matabula and stuff like that. But just certain guys, Pacquiao, you kind of get used to it. Mayweather fights bigger people, etc. So at the highest elite level, that doesn't tell everything. So in my opinion, why they would have landed on Callum Smith is money. I think, well, part of it's money, in my opinion. Money because Callum Smith, I think, is going to come at a cheaper asking price. Now, Floyd Mayweather said something very interesting when he did Drinking Champs, the Nori podcast. He says, and I don't know where he gets this information, but, you know, he's pretty connected. He knows some people who knows people and stuff. And he is the person who, you know, changed the game, and especially like he showed people how much money you can really make in this boxing game. But anyway, one thing he said on that podcast is that his DAZN deal, Canelo's DAZN deal, and again, you have to ask Floyd how he got this information or why he's saying this, so I can't corroborate it if it's true or not. But according to Floyd, he's saying that Canelo Alvarez's deal is incumbent of his dance partner as well. Like, a lot of people were under the impression that, you know, let's say they pay him out like 37 million, he gets to keep just all the 37. But the way Floyd depicted it is whatever amount he's like his allowance, or whatever amount he's allowed to withdraw for his fight, you know, out of this big $365 million 10 fight pot, he has to use some of it towards the opponent as well. So if the opponent's getting, you know, 10, 12, 15 million, according to Floyd, he's saying that's like 15 subtracted from what Canelo would be getting, you know. So it's kind of a loophole, which, you know, wouldn't really surprise me, you know. And that actually, for a business, for DAZN, it makes more sense for them to be doing that if Floyd, what he's saying, is true, as opposed to anything. But you guys can watch the interview and let me know what you interpret with that. So with that being said, I think ultimately Callum Smith, he has the World Boxing Super Series, but I don't think either guy is really branded in America. I think both of them, the pair of them, Smith and Saunders, I think they only fought in America like one time. Billy Joe Saunders' biggest fight in America got canceled because he failed a drug test, and that was to be against Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. You know, I was really looking forward to it. It was going to be in Andrade's backyard, so, you know, that would have been a good opportunity for him, but he failed a drug test, you know. So anyway, I think Callum Smith, from what I'm hearing and stuff, he may have backed down on some of his asking demands, and that probably appeases Golden Boy and Canelo, who are, you know, looking to get as much money as they can. And the other thing, the aspect I think of it is, I think Callum Smith, you know, he has power, but he really didn't look good in his last fight. He was booed in his hometown. People thought John Ryder beat him. I thought John Ryder beat him. So, you know, it's not just other people. Me personally, I watched the fight. I told you guys that immediately. I forgot what fight I was covering, but I remember I was away from home because I watched it in my hotel room. And, you know, he just didn't look good in that fight. And to me, he looks like he has some power, some, you know, pretty good combinations and stuff, but he looked more up and down. Billy Joe Saunders is, you know, friends with Tyson Fury, and he's a gypsy like Tyson Fury. And one thing that I've really learned about the gypsy culture as it pertains to the ones that I know about in boxing, unpredictable. You know, Billy Joe Saunders will have a flat performance, and then, you know, he'll have a David Lemieux performance where he looked really well, really good. And I think all in all, Billy Joe Saunders has had the bigger fights, Andy Lee, David Lemieux in Canada, where Lemieux's from, stuff like that. So I think that style, Billy Joe Saunders' style, even though he's coming off a bad performance as well, I think his style is probably more tricky for Canelo. You know, Canelo complained when Floyd beat him, said he ran and stuff like that. Edeslani Lara gave him problems. So guys with that type of foot speed, or the potential to have foot speed, you know, I think he would elect to fight the more flat-footed, bigger guy, you know, because Canelo's been fighting a lot of European fighters. You notice that his whole career. Ryan Rhodes, Matthew Hatton, Amir Khan, Liam Smith, Callum Smith's brother. Who else? Rocky Fielding. Kovalev is from Russia, so he's Eastern European. And I think that's the style that Canelo tends to do the best with. But guys with certain attributes, you know, foot speed, guys with more of an American style, because Canelo himself has a kind of American style. You know, you can tell he's studied the game, studied Floyd after he beat him and before, studied, you know, the greats. Stuff like Oscar de la Hoya and Muhammad Ali. Though he says those are some of the people he cites as his favorite fighters. So Canelo, definitely a student of the game. And I think with that being said, styles like Charlo and Andrade, that's too rhythmic and too, you know, good foot speed, good power, good jab, good grasp of the fundamentals, and it's just a different style that he doesn't. I think there's certain styles, bottom line, that he stays away from. Black fighters with that American style, rhythmic guys who can out jab him, that are bigger than him with power, like Charlo, like Demetrius Andrade, that foot speed, you know, bigger guys that are just strong tanks that he might not be able to hurt, like Artur Beterbiev, big guys, strong guys, you know, Mexican fighters like David Benavidez, Mexican American. I think these Zurdo Ramirez, I think all those types of fights are going to be a lot different, and I think that's the real reason that on Mexican holidays there's only one Mexican fighter, you know, and that's Canelo, and he's choosing to fight a lot of European fighters. You know, historically in boxing, two Mexican guys, two Hispanic Latino guys fighting has been big. You know, historically a Mexican fighter versus a black fighter has been big. We've seen it all the time with Floyd Mayweather, where he's fighting either a Mexican fighter on those quote-unquote Mexican dates, Cinco de Mayo, Mexican Independence Day, you know, fighting De La Hoya, fighting Canelo, fighting Robert the Ghost Guerrero, fighting a Latino fighter like Maidana twice, stuff like that. And, you know, it looks like Canelo's just kind of picking and choosing. But the tickets, you know, unless there was a glitch, but I don't think, like, some people were, you know, have conspiracy theories like, oh, it's a different Smith, or they just put a generic name in. But I mean, what are the likelihood of that? Because your graphic designer, you know, they're gonna have to really change whatever they input. They're gonna have to change it anyway, you know. So who's gonna go through that type of labor to put a dummy name? And if it wasn't real and it was just a dummy name, then why did Access Tickets? Why did they, you know, now block it? The link is now blocked. So all the screenshots you've seen in the video, those were clickable links to get to that landing page. But now you can't get to it. It's just like dead links. You know, they put it under construction or ghosted it, put it in stealth mode so you can't access it. So I think it's going to be Callum Smith. That's what it's looking like. Still, Ego Rumor Mill will classify it as that until otherwise proven. But that's what it's looking like. Canelo versus Callum Smith, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, May 2nd. Golden Boy president Eric Gomez said that this is going to be a shocking pick, or he said something to this effect that people are going to be surprised and shocked if he is fighting Callum Smith off of his last performance, the way he looked, despite him being big, despite him winning the World Boxer Super Series. Definitely not surprising. I told you there's only a handful of guys that Canelo could really pick that would surprise me. That would really surprise me. I think with this fight, they're kind of going off of the fact that Canelo beat his brother, Liam Smith, in Texas. So they're going to try to use that as a backstory to get people hyped. But the downside with what DAZN's doing is they're trying to blow up in America. And I keep telling you, Canelo's star power seems to be dwindling. He seems a lot more contained, not doing the numbers, because they're not coming out and bragging about Canelo did over $1 million in the United States alone, you know, paid customers, stuff like that. And you're seeing less visibility from Canelo, just events. His fights are cutting it close. Like, literally, I looked at the calendar. There's about 8 weeks, eight and a half weeks before actual fight week, and we haven't even had an announcement. So I don't know if they're waiting for the Mikey Garcia card on DAZN to announce it, but, you know, that's pretty poor. You know, Canelo himself and Callum Smith, if he did get the fight, they're probably started training, I would imagine. You know, but still, it's bad when you announce it to the public. People have to make accommodations, buy tickets, airfare. You know, if they are going to drive, you know, they got to map out their quest. And I feel like Canelo's fights and a lot of DAZN fights, they're not really planned well in advance, where especially their big stars like Canelo, where you hear about it with, 12 weeks or more, 14 weeks, you know what I'm saying, to plan and not just plan, but also promote during that time. Callum Smith he won the World Boxing Super Series, so they'll use that. They'll use the backstory of Liam Smith. They'll use his size, like, oh, look how big this guy, show some knockouts of him knocking out more so domestic guys, or Hassan Indam, who David Lemieux stopped, or not dropped. He dropped him, and Peter Quillen dropped him. Between David Lemieux and Peter Quillen, they dropped him like 10 times, well before Callum Smith got to him. Plus Hassan Indam moved up to 168, where Callum Smith is big, and he was really a middleweight 160 pounder. So he looked good in that fight. So it'll look good for, a video edit, but that doesn't really prove much. I mean, even the World Boxing Super Series, he beat George Groves, who, at a point was pretty big. But that tournament in his bracket, George Groves had already been knocked out by Carl Froch twice and beaten by Badu Jack and dropped in the Badu Jack fight. You see what I'm saying? So we still really don't know a lot about Callum Smith, and judging off his last performance, it's just not the performance that you would typically want to see before he fights a superstar. Like, people hated on Mayweather, said he cherry picked and waited for people to get old and all this stuff. But if you look at it, Floyd fought guys coming off of brilliant wins, like Maidana thrashed Broner and got the Floyd fight, and then had a good account of himself in the fight, so he got the rematch, right? You look at Canelo, he had just beaten Austin Trout, got the Mayweather fight. Cotto had just avenged his first ever career loss to Margarito, who was arguably cheating. His very next fight was Floyd, after Cotto knocked out Margarito, with the help of Pacquiao messing up his eye. Shane Mosley had just knocked out Margarito when people didn't think he could, and that's when he just, after that performance, after that Shane Mosley fought, after the Margarito performance, he fought Floyd. Same thing, Juan Manuel Marquez proved he was the best lightweight, knocked out Juan Baby Bull Diaz in the first fight. Then he moved up and fought Floyd. So Floyd fought people coming off their best performances, undefeated guys, Diego Corrales, undefeated guys like Canelo at the time, undefeated guys like Ricky Hatton. Guys coming off brilliant wins, and veterans, and guys who were bigger. Victor Ortiz had just recently beaten Berto and stuff like that. Canelo, if he is gonna fight Callum Smith is coming off of really not his best work. So it's just weird how Canelo fights. He keeps getting criticized for the same things, but it just keeps happening. You keep fighting people off of these types of performances. So it is what it is, but it's looking like Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, with him putting that little cryptic message. Plus, I think his style is a little bit trickier for Canelo, Canelo's more susceptible to not look as good versus guys with fleet feet and that type of skill. So he's looking for the more stationary, bigger, flat-footed, Callum Smith coming off the bad performance. That's what it's looking like. But again, I'll wait for Canelo and Golden Boy to officially announce it, but it looks like that's where we're headed. Ego rumor mill. Let me know what you guys think. If you love what I'm doing, smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.